Welcome to the Triple S podcast, where we discuss the standings, the statistics, and the scoreboard. Today we discuss the moves made at the NBA trade deadline, including the Kyrie, KD, and Russell Westbrook trades. First, we'll talk about the blockbuster trade that brought Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns. It was the biggest trade this cycle by far. It blows up the Nets officially and establishes a big three in Phoenix. The deal was KD and TJ Warren to Phoenix for four first-round picks, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder. I think this deal is huge for the Suns, who now have one of the most lethal starting lineups in the league. It provides them great spacing, and you're gonna have Ayton on there, a traditional big man, alongside a very traditional point guard and shooting guard in Chris Paul and Devin Booker, with a much more dynamic small forward / power forward in Kevin Durant, who's one of the best 3-point shooters the league has ever seen. And I think it's going to be really exciting seeing them team up, and they'll have a real chance in the West now. But they did have to give up a lot of their best role players, and for the Nets, their rebuild is starting out great here. They have Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and Cam Johnson, who are really some young players who can make a big difference for them, alongside all those picks that they received. But it officially ends their big three, as Kyrie, KD, and Harden, who were brought in all last year, have all asked for trades and have all been shipped out in the last year. Ultimately, I think that the grade that Phoenix deserves is an A-. They'll get a lot better from this, and I'm much more confident in their playoff chances now. And I think that the Nets, considering what they had to do, they really had to deal KD because he was unhappy in Brooklyn. I think they deserve a B-. I think they did the best they could do with that situation, and they got some good value for him. And speaking of the Nets, their other big trade was Kyrie Irving to the Dallas Mavericks. Kyrie asked for a trade again, this time away from the Nets, and he goes to the Dallas Mavericks to be paired with Luka Doncic. Kyrie and Markieff Morris were sent to Dallas for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 first, and 4 second-round picks. For the Mavs, I think that this is a pretty risky move because they gave up some assets for a player that has been historically inconsistent. I'm not talking about on court, but off the court, he hasn't played much. He's been reportedly a really big cancer in the locker room, and so I think it's really risky to bring somebody in like that. But if he does play and if he does mellow out off the court, I think that this is a godsend for the Mavericks. Two of the best ISO players in league history now have a real chance of tearing the West up. They finally give Luka the help that he desperately needed. And, I'm really excited to see them work together. And I think that this gives a real chance for Luka to strive to really be an MVP candidate, because he's had to bear a lot of the responsibility in Dallas right now. And some of that now can be put on Kyrie's shoulders. On the Nets side, I think they received even more solid role players. They have a pretty much an all-star team of bench players and of second teamers, and so I think it's going to be a real good start for them. As I said, they have a lot of good picks, and I'm pretty confident in their future, considering what they had to do after having to explode the big three. I think that the Mavs get a B+ for this trade, and the Nets, I think that they get a B-, maybe a C+. They could have gotten some more picks out of the Mavericks, but ultimately I think that this is a good trade. And the third trade I'm going to highlight today is not as much of a blockbuster trade, but I think it still is really important for a couple teams out west here. The Lakers received D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt, and give away Russell Westbrook to the Utah Jazz. The Lakers finally give away Russell Westbrook. It's been something that they've been needing to do for 6 months now, ever since they got him. He's in a terrible contract. He hasn't been playing well, and he simply does not fit with the Lakers. I think that this is what Rob Pelinka's been needing to do for a while now, and I think it's paramount that they got him out of there, and I think that they received some decent compensation. D'Angelo Russell's averaging almost 17 points a game this season, and Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt provide some really good role players to them and some really good spacing on the offensive side to help out LeBron and AD. As I said, this trade is not much of a blockbuster as some of the other ones, but now there's renewed hope for the Lakers, who were 13th in the West when this trade went out, and so for that, I think that they get an A minus. The Jazz, they're going to continue to tank. Now they took on a max contract for half a season. He's going to be a free agent after this Russ is, and they gave away some good players for them. But I don't think it's going to matter because their goal clearly right now is to get the first pick year after year, and I think that they're a better position to do this now. And I think that the Timberwolves also were in sort of a lose-lose situation. But they gave away D'Angelo Russell for Mike Conley. Really, Minnesota received Mike Conley, and so this doesn't help them much in terms of winning. But if they want to sort of deconstruct the team slowly, I think that this isn't a bad move. So I think that both the Jazz and the Timberwolves get C minuses for this one. It was really a lose-lose situation. And that brings me to my top 10 power rankings for the NBA. First, I have the Celtics. They've been tearing up the league. They have the most wins in the league right now. Second, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. Third, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Fourth, I have the Denver Nuggets. Fifth, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Fifth, I have the Golden State Warriors. Sixth, I have the Phoenix Suns. Seventh, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. Ninth, I have the LA Clippers. And finally, 10th, I have the Miami Heat. I think that these are all teams that are pretty neck and neck, but the two that really stand out to me are obviously the two best teams in the East, the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm really looking forward to the playoffs. I know it's a long time away, but I'm really looking forward to it. Giannis versus Jason Tatum, two MVP candidates, and out there in the West, I think it's going to be interesting to see the Nuggets versus the Warriors versus the Suns. They now all have elite talent there as Steph continues to be healthy. Now Phoenix has KD, and Denver has the predominant MVP favorite, which is Nikola Jokic, who's continuing to average a triple-double as a center. It just astounds me. He's probably going to go back to back to back. So that's all for the Triple S podcast this week. I'll be back next week to talk more NBA and recap the Super Bowl in the NFL, which is tonight. But until then, see you.